Hi, everybody. You couldn't hear me before. So welcome to Kids Are Talking. This is our 16th episode. We have a whole new type of show today for you guys. Our returning panelist, Whitley, is here, and she is going to be visiting us with her mother. And we're going to have, they're going to be talking with Dr. Don, and it's going to explore the relationship, explore her experience on Kids Are Talking, and what it's like, moving as a graduating senior. I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing this insight. So please, if you want to, ask Whitley or her mom or Dr. Don a question, please drop those in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our channels, and you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. And without any further ado, Kids Are Talking, and we'll see you in 2 minutes.
All teenagers are going through really similar things right now because everything's crazy.
Dr. Don, can you believe we made it to episode 16?
And episode 16, that's really amazing. And live and regular show and amazing. And tonight, as you say, is a different kind of show, which I'm excited about, actually. I think it's going to be fun because I think we're going to do more of these periodically, parent-child shows. Tonight we're doing mother-daughter. Maybe down the line, father-son, which is right in my arena with my book and my experience with my own father.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe siblings, all kinds of things. So this is a breakthrough show for me and for all of you who are watching. What makes it a little more special tonight is that we're having on Whitley, who has been on at least 5 of our shows.
This will be 6 now.
Number 6.
Yeah.
She's been a very significant part of our show, and it's not an accident because she has been such an appealing guest, and many people who have been watching this show around the country have commented and have gotten to know Whitley.
Mm-hmm.
And what they haven't gotten to know is the mother behind the scenes, Courtney. And if it weren't for Courtney and her connection, Mike, I think with your mother.
Yeah. See, there's another mother-child connection.
There you go. Peggy Budd, mother-son, right? If it weren't for that relationship, we would not be where we are. And what makes Courtney so special is, one, their relationship with each other, and she's taken the journey of the name of the show is Journey of a Panelist. The reason why it's Journey of a Panelist is twofold. One, Whitley and her mom have been one of the people that have watched all the shows, lived all the shows, and they can talk about Kids Are Talking. For all of you who have not gotten to the archives or not to all the archives, you're going to get a chance tonight to actually have some analysis and self-reflection from people that have really watched the show, watched it evolve. And I'm looking forward to that. And Mike, we're both looking forward to that. You like those nostalgic shows from the 1990s. Now we got a nostalgic show about 2021.
And
Kids
this
Are
is
Talking.
actually one show that we never did in the 90s, which was
Never did the show in the
reflection.
90s.
And you had many repeat guests on those shows, but
Yeah,
this
but this
is, I
is
mean,
yeah, we had many repeat, but right, we never did a show like this. And I know this is one of the things you've been you were trying to get, maybe let's have a show from the kids from 20 years ago. What's cool is this is a show we're going to have a nostalgic show that's something that's present. What makes Courtney special also is that she's a school psychologist in North Carolina. And so she can bring in the dimension of being a school psychologist as both a professional and as a mother. So I'm going to do something to give you a little bit of an outline. I've thought about this show. We weren't even sure what we were going to do tonight.
right.
And I had this brainstorm 3 days ago that this is a show that we've never done before. And so this is what we're going to do tonight before you meet them. We're going to start in the here and now. It's like a novel, like a good paper you're going to write for school. We're going to start in the present. And we're going to learn just a little bit about, celebrate who they are in terms of in the context of Kids Are Talking, which is what we do these days. And then go back to the past and learn a little bit about the journey of a panelist, not just from Kids Are Talking, but from growing up as in a town in North Carolina, not a very big town. Maybe I'll learn a little bit more about that town in North Carolina tonight, about what it was like growing up in that little town in North Carolina between Courtney and Whitley. And then we'll come back to Kids Are Talking and talking about the experience of it, what they remember, some of the highlights of it, and then we'll end up with where it goes from here.
So from a small town to a national streaming show, to the future, which is unknown. I think that's
well put.
A great plan.
And I think now with that build up and set up for all of you watching tonight, to see a show that really is kind of fun because it's different from what we've done. It's been out of our zone. This is out of our zone.
This is the first show where the adults are outnumbering the kids.
That's true.
But the kids are the center of the show still. So let's bring them out.
And Whitley is the person to do that. Okay,
here we go. Here's Whitley. Welcome to the show, guys.
There's the mother and daughter from. It is a small town in North Carolina. Am I right?
Yes,
Very small.
What is? I'm curious. I never asked. What is the population of North Carolina in terms of this small town? Do you know?
I don't even know. I mean, the city where she goes to school and where I work, there's just, I mean, all of our schools are on one campus. It's primary, elementary, middle, and high, and that's it.
They just put the primary there this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I have maybe 380 something kids in my high school, like everyone in high school.
Right.
So there's just like 1,500 kids in the whole county.
Yeah.
So it's little.
And Kids Are Talking is happening on a consistent basis in this little town, which I was actually curious. Do a lot of people know about the show because of the two of you? Are people watching it, or is there conversation about it?
There are some. We're not, neither one of us are super good social media kind of people. And so I'm not good at publicizing stuff like that.
So I'm going to have the American Idol staff come to your house and help do Kids Are Talking with you. Okay. So, but I know some people, I know the principal is watching the show and probably some friends and maybe tonight. And if not, they can go to our archives.
Right.
So Whitley, I still enjoy that little segment of yours in the introduction when you go, "Oh my God, they're all going crazy."
That was from our entrance video, the auditional video.
That was So that we're used to you not only on being 5 of our shows, but being part of our intro.
No, Mom was the one that was recording, and we took that video countless times. It was a ton of times because I kept either tripping over my words or forgetting what I wanted to say. It was a whole thing.
So what's fun about that is, which we'll get into the last part of the show, we're going to kind of see where we're going into the future. That'll be a fun thing for you to look back on 20 years from now and see yourself in the birth of this evolving self on Kids Are Talking. So thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing us a new chapter of our show. And Courtney, you no longer are behind the scenes, even though I know you've been a fan, and I don't know how many people have watched as many shows as you had, and having the insight of being a school psychologist makes it even more special. So now we're going to go back in time.
Okay.
We're writing a novel tonight for all of you, and now we've given enough people enough context of why we're doing the show tonight. So let's go back to she's born. Whitley gets born in this little town, right, of North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so what did it feel like when this beautiful little girl was born as a mother?
I mean, it really was incredible. I mean, just being pregnant and connecting with her that way, I just felt connected already. So it was a really neat, just the whole experience was really neat.
Did you feel as a mother, because I did as a father, I wanted a son.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I have a daughter too, and I love them both the same. But
yeah,
as a mother, did you have any special feeling about having a daughter?
I'm not very prissy. I was actually very scared of having a little girl.
Really?
And so when I found out it was a little girl, I was like, oh no, I don't like pink. I don't I don't do nails and hair and all that.
I didn't have anything pink for like years.
Yeah, her
You
baby.
didn't have, what did you have? What didn't you have, Whitley?
I didn't have like anything the color pink. Like I'm sure I had a few, but like very few things that were pink for like years.
So what was that? What was going on with you, Courtney, about having a
I don't know. I always, I mean, in school,
you're gonna learn something tonight about you.
Right. In school, I just connected more comfortably with the boys. Just, I don't know, girls, the things that they talked about just didn't seem to interest me as much. I don't know.
Felt too prissy for you, as you said, right? Like
yeah.
What can I talk to a girl? So now she's here. What are you gonna do?
Yes, I know. Well,
so how did you deal with that when she was very little?
I mean, when she was real little, I just dressed her in what I wanted to dress her in. But
so would you dress her? Did you dress her as a tomboy?
No,
in those days,
I had bows and
she had lots
skirts.
of
I was
stuff.
just
so she decorated you. You decorated your daughter.
Decorated,
yeah.
You made a comeback from not knowing what to do. So
all
I did have fun with that.
She loved gymboree.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
So what was it like in the early years? Like, preschool, then up to middle school, elementary school?
Whitley's always been, she's always been her own self. And it's been really neat. I mean, it's really been kind of neat to watch. She's always been very verbal and very mature in the way that she talks to. She was the first grandchild, so she was around all adults and just very mature in the way she talks to adults. And we would just talk to her like a little adult. And sometimes.
So you mean this is nothing new for her. This is who she always was, huh?
Yes.
By the way, it's okay. With all these dysfunctional families flying around all over the country, it's nice for a change to have, instead of having mommy dearest here, we have mommy love. So that's cool. So she was always this.
She's always been her own self, just very independent, and it's been neat. Yeah.
Did you feel that your mom and dad? Because I don't know about dad. What does dad do for a living, by the way? We don't know anything about
He's a counselor.
He's a counselor too.
Therapist.
Is he a counselor in the same school, which is also Whitley's school, right?
No, he actually opened a small counseling business years ago, and then it grew into a gigantic one, and he sold it. So he actually now does consulting, but he was a private therapist, so not in the schools.
So it's a private practice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're in the school though.
I'm in the school though, right?
How's that been, having her as having your mother working as a school psychologist in the school?
I've always liked it. I mean, when I was until I got my license, really, even last year, I would always go down to her office after school until I either had practice or she would drive me home. So we got a lot of mother-daughter time, and I was very forgetful, so I'd always forget to get my papers signed. So you can best bet the day that whatever form was due, I would be running into her office being like, Mom, you need to sign this.
How convenient.
And without fail, every morning.
That was very convenient.
And was it hard for you because my father was a psychiatrist in the 1960s, and it was weird because in those days, being the son of a psychiatrist is like being the son of the witch doctor in town. Now you're not a witch doctor, obviously, but you're a school psychologist in the school. But everybody, I didn't know who was seeing my father. I thought maybe it was a little strange because it was so. Is it your friends? How do they feel with your mom at school? Has there been any kind of? They talk about your mom at all, or?
I mean, usually they're just like, "Hey, I saw your mom in the hall," or "Oh, hey, I said hey to your mom," or "Your mom came up and we talked about this." I mean, my friends love my mom.
A lot of
That's
kids
nice.
at school would always call me Whitley's mom. Like I didn't have a name other than Whitley's mom.
Well, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So growing up, so did you feel your mom and dad gave you a lot of space that helped you be who you are? Did you feel that they were respectful of you, didn't try to control you? Because I want people to hear what made your relationship work.
Yeah, I mean,
As a mother and daughter, what were some of the things that worked in those early years and now up to where we are now?
my parents have always let me be my own person and have independence to an extent. I mean, they've done a lot of research on a lot of everything pretty much. And they always try and make the best decisions they can for me and for our family. Sometimes I wish that the rules would be a little less strict, but I think that's every kid. I mean, I have a curfew, I have to do XYZ. There always rules in houses. But like
we limited things like social media, you know,
like
for
I
a
couldn't
long
have
time.
Snapchat until like second semester of my freshman year. I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob, and everyone else could watch SpongeBob. And I told the teacher I was watching SpongeBob, and she turned it off, and all the kids got mad at me.
So did you ever punish this kid or give her any consequences? Did she ever give you any reason to do that? I'm just curious.
Not very often. I mean, I did. When she was little, we would, you know, pop her every once in a while when she'd do something she wasn't supposed to, but she really didn't do much.
Not bad.
One time she told me, fine, then spank me when she got mad at me for something, and I did spank her, but that was the one time, and that was all it took.
Yeah.
You asked her to spank you?
I said, well, she was like, okay, well, Whitley, if you keep doing this, I'm going to have to spank you. And I was like, fine, then spank me.
Oh, so you
and
called
she
her up.
did.
So how was that? How was that?
I mean, I felt terrible.
I blocked it out of my memory.
How old were you when that happened? Shocking.
She's about 5. Yeah.
Okay, so you were a little one. So
never had to do anything else after that.
Yeah.
She had a curfew, always a curfew.
But yeah.
Hands on.
I mean, yeah, we've been real open with why we have our rules and what we think, you know, what our thinking was.
Yeah.
Those were, you always had conversation with each other and talk about
Right.
it.
Yeah. And
And
if I have an issue with it, I'll usually bring it up and be like, hey, can we discuss this? Or can I have a later curfew night because of XYZ? And we have really open discussions. And if it's a no, they tell me why, but they hear me out. Their minds aren't already made up beforehand, which I've always appreciated.
So the open-mindedness and the respect and the empathy, which we've been talking a lot about, as you know, on our shows, which we'll get to later on. So how about being an only child? The only children I've known, just so you know, I hope the people out there are not offended by me saying this, but I have had personal experience with many people that are only children.
Yeah.
It's all about them, sense of entitlement. So one could even say they're spoiled and they don't like to share, and yet Whitley doesn't seem at all like that kind of person. So I'm just curious, what was it like having an only child, for both being an only child and having an only child?
I do think that because of my profession and my husband's a profession that I do think that I mean, she's definitely spoiled. I'm not going to say she's not, but I do think that we emphasized other people's feelings. We made a real big point of that when she was young. And so she's kind of had that heart for other people, you know, and that thinking about others. She's kind of always had that.
You raised her to not think that she was just all about her, like just kind of bringing in other things.
I guess, yeah.
What do you think, Whitley? What was it like being an only child? What your mom is saying?
I mean, I think what she said's right. I mean, my parents did raise me to think about others and how my actions affect them and their feelings, not just necessarily like, even if I'm not trying to be mean, that doesn't mean that someone won't feel bad because of something that I say. Like they taught me that. But
to be aware of other people.
Yeah. I mean, I do like having the attention. So I do like that part of being an only child. But I mean, especially when I was young, like I'd get bored sometimes because I'd just be at home. I mean, mom and dad were around. Yeah. They'd be doing work. We'd be watching TV and be like, can we play? Can we play? Just constantly. But I found my own little things to do. I read like a lot.
Did you say you fought constantly? Did I hear that?
thought.
No, what did you say you did
I don't
constantly?
know.
No,
Read.
I read. I
Oh,
read.
you read. You did a lot of reading.
Reading.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think fighting constantly. That didn't make sense to
Oh,
me.
no.
You read a lot. You like to read. Was the reading nice because you just like to read, or also kept you company, being an only child?
I
Or
mean, it did that. I got very immersed into the fictional worlds and like just all the characters. Like still, like I'll look back and some of them they feel like actual friends in a way.
That's interesting. Did you feel that it helped you? Did you ever long for a sibling, or did you feel that helped by reading these books instead?
I mean, I always wanted a sibling. I don't know if that would have been the best thing for me, given how I like having all of the attention.
She used to put it on her Christmas list.
Oh, she
It
did.
was published in the newspaper.
Her letter to Santa would
She
say,
did.
"And a baby sister."
a real live baby
real
sister.
live
I
baby
made sure to
sister.
specify that way I didn't get like a doll. Like I knew how the whole like genie wish thing worked. I thought Santa was the same way. Like if you didn't word it correctly, he'd give you something you didn't want at all.
So she asked for a sibling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask? I know it's a personal question. What made you decide? And you can say yes or no. What made you decide to just have one child? I'm just curious.
It wasn't our decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So the reading, but you did pretty good. So this is not a bad reward for what you did. And so the reading books, fictional books with other friends, and that's probably helped, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's helped a lot. It's especially just learning from I've learned a lot about like morals and themes, a lot of social things, but also a lot of it I've learned to stand up for myself more than I used to, because there was one point in my life I was sitting and I was just listening to things that just kids at school. And I was like, well, this book character wouldn't just sit and listen and feel bad about herself. Like she's amazing. She wouldn't do that. So I'm not going to either. And that was like a big point in my life, was whenever just thinking about that made me realize I don't just have to like sit here and let them talk to me that way.
Did you encourage her to read a lot, Courtney? Would you recommend the parents that they encourage the kids to read more?
Definitely. And I was a big reader growing up too.
Yeah.
And I think partly I think of it as kind of related to our ADD, just because that was a way that your mind was always active.
Do you have ADD? Do you have ADD also, Courtney?
Yeah.
Well, now that was my next thing. You watched the ADD show, which we'll get into in the second part of tonight's show. So did Dad have ADD also? Or just the whole family has ADD?
The whole family.
So that show got over 1,000. We got so many people watching that show. So ADD is a very popular subject, and it was a very big show, which we're going to definitely talk about. That's going to be fun to talk about. So what was it like being an ADD house? Was it ADD or ADHD? Everything's it's actually called ADHD now. I learned
it is, and I used to joke with my husband that he was just H. That's all he was just H.
Just H. And what made him just H? Hyperactive?
Just hyperactive.
So what was it like
when he was younger?
He what?
When he was younger. I mean, I think we've both, learned lots of coping skills, as everyone with ADD or ADHD learns coping skills over time. So I don't know. I mean, I do know that it was much harder for me as a mom with ADHD to parent a child with ADHD, because what she needed was structure and consistency. And that's like the hardest thing for me is structure and consistency.
So how did you pull it off?
I mean, I definitely stole ideas from my best friend who has an ADHD son, but she herself is not ADHD. So I learned some things from her. We kind of just bumbled through it the best we could, but
and very open about it.
Yeah.
Not embarrassed, not ashamed, very open. Yeah.
And I do find that something in my job that is helpful for me to be able to talk with parents about the fact that I do, have ADHD, and to talk about the fact that I have a child who has ADHD. That's helped me in my job, connect with parents better and that sort of thing.
What would you recommend to people that are watching this show about as a mother and child in terms of how to deal with the ADHD situation? What would you recommend?
I mean, I think just read and educate yourself as much as you can. I mean, what all the research shows is that a combination of behavior management and medication is what's most helpful. And that's my view on it as well. But I think that there are lots of things you can do. I mean, even from a young age, we could tell with Whitley that was an area of need for her. And we didn't make her sit down at a table for, 45 minutes and, things that we knew she couldn't do. We kind of adapted things.
So you learned, well, you knew what it was like for you and
right. Yeah.
Your husband too. Yeah.
I think a lot of parents want their kids to be a very certain way, and they don't necessarily realize that it's not the child's fault. There's something different about the way they learn or the way that they are that makes it hard for them to do it that way. And sometimes if you can just give little concessions to make things easier for the child, family life can be a lot smoother. Choose your battles, I guess is what I'm saying. Choose your battles.
Whitley, that helped you with your mom and dad, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And I'll say, I mean, I know medication is scary for a lot of people and there's like a stigma with it and everything. And sometimes you have to try multiple to get the right kind. But I will say it's helped me academically because I can actually pay attention to my classes and remember, first of all, that we have homework, and second of all, to do the homework, and third of all, to actually turn it in. But it's also helped me socially with being able to more control my emotions and just like
Connect.
Not be like as hyperactive and crazy, to just be able to just like have conversations, I guess.
And I know both of you are very pro therapy. I mean, you're a therapy family, so
Right.
you can have somebody to talk to. And how about Dad? I'm assuming that Dad, everybody's close. Your dad you're also close to your father. Is it different with your relationship with your mom and dad, or not?
I mean, I think relationships with family members, they're always a little bit different, but I don't know.
We kind of have a different, I mean, typically fathers and daughters are the ones that are usually the closer in the family, and mothers and sons. In our situation, I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. And then we've always gone to school together. So I've always driven her to and from school every day. So I've been involved with lots of those things. And so we've had a lot more time together than a lot of moms and daughters do. So I think we probably have a closer mother-daughter relationship than a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah.
So what's it like? We have something in common. What's it like to have two parents that are in the field of psychology?
I mean, I feel in the long run, it's helped me a lot because I've learned how to like talk about my feelings and to like understand why I'm acting or feeling the way that I am. And we always have good conversations about things.
That's great.
Yeah, it does drive me a little crazy sometimes because they make really good points that I don't know how to counteract. And it's not fair. I'm just going to say it's not fair. It's not fair.
So I have a couple. Yeah, that's part of everything was analyzed in my house. You couldn't even lift your arm to the right without it being analyzed or being asked if you had a dream that night or like everything was analyzed. So I have a couple of questions just to ask you now to get off, like this, the show is the journey of a panelist. The next part I want to ask you is, what do you feel, and I'll ask you both this, what do you feel kids feel most misunderstood about? And can that be fixed, or is it just a teen-parent dynamic?
What do you mean most misunderstood?
What do you think parents, what do you think is the most, where do you think kids are most misunderstood in general, by parents or by just anything?
I think, and I don't know if this exactly answers the question or not, but I mean, one thing that I think kids now are exposed to so much more, and they're so much more aware of things earlier than we were. And they're used to talking to each other, and even through social media on TikTok, seeing somebody talking about their mental health issues or whatever. I think that in our older generations, we didn't talk as much about those things. And I think that a lot of parents don't understand, and I know I didn't, that you can talk about these things a lot sooner, and that the children are exposed to it already, so they're ready for it. And that it's a, it'd be a really beneficial thing to do, to talk about a lot.
So it's not I see that it's not a specific thing you think that you can either want to say about what is being a misunderstanding or how kids are misunderstood by the parents, but better communication.
Right. And I think, I didn't understand, as a parent, you try to, teach your child what your values are and tell them, but, when you get older, you'll be making these decisions for yourself. This is how Daddy and I feel. Not everybody feels this way, blah, blah, blah. And so for a while you hear that back from your child, kind of those same thoughts, but it was when I started hearing different thoughts, or the same values, but presented in a different way. And I realized, wow, she's getting this information from other places. And it just was interesting to me to kind of see that development in her maturity, but in her thinking, just that development in her thinking as well, that I wasn't aware of, that she was being exposed to other things that were helping to develop that, through TikTok or through talks with friends or through whatever, books.
So did you felt that your mom and dad, you didn't feel misunderstood, any misunderstandings? Or think of other kids that talk to you, or other kids that talk to you about what they feel with their parents in terms of what they feel misunderstood about.
Over the years, there have definitely been times that I feel misunderstood. I think that that's with every kid and their parents. There are going to be times, but I think a big thing is that both the kids and the parents. The kids think more, oh, we're teenagers, we're basically adults. We know life, we have this down, just let us do our thing. Right. And the parents are sometimes it's we're still kids, but I think in the parents' minds, it's either you're still a kid, right. We're going to do these things for you. You need to do X, Y, Z, or you're an adult, you have to have this figured out. I think it's because as a teenager, I'm on the older side. So especially that you're in this place to where even though we look like adults, we're not actually adults, even though we think we are. And so we'll make stupid decisions and our thought process is a little different. I was talking with one of my teachers in my teacher cadet class. We were talking about this a lot the other day. Yeah. But just that, we think that we're old enough to be able to do everything and we're adults, but adults sometimes forget that we're kids too, because just either the mentality of, oh, well, I can do drugs. That's never going to hurt me. I know it happens, but just the sense of invincibility almost, not just with drugs, but with anything, speeding, staying out past curfew, whatever it is, just, oh, it can't happen to me. Thoughts like those. And then just wanting to do stupid kid stuff that to us is not stupid at all. It's our lives. Right.
So but, you think that parents should be more patient about that in terms of accepting that or being more understanding about that, or?
A little bit. I think that they should keep it in mind, not necessarily where it changes their parenting, but maybe changes how they see it happening, not as a grown adult doing all these stupid decisions, but as someone who's in a transitionary, a limbo part of their life.
As kids, we're just trying to figure it out. And kids are talking, for instance, I find sometimes I am always asking kids for their opinions. Even in my practice, I see a lot of teenagers. Right. As a teenager, I would think it's probably nice to feel that people want to know what you think, that we sometimes, as we've learned on the show, that kids tend to be seen as that they don't know anything. Right. We can't ask their opinion. We're too cool for that. How could we ask a kid for their opinion? But the kids feel that they want that more, the way you're seeing on Kids Are Talking.
I think all kids, they just want their voices to be heard. Some are really shy. Some, they might not want to talk on a particular topic, but if you get them in something they actually have an interest in, they have a strong opinion or belief in or personal experience. Yeah. They want to talk. They want to make their voices heard.
Yeah. And you feel your mom and dad gave you the space to hear your voice, and you would ask her opinion too. You did something right. Because look at her. So let's go on to how about, and I know you're not one of these parents, I don't think, but you probably deal with it. How about these parents that have they let drugs at their house, parties with drugs, and
Right.
And alcohol or other substances. What do you both think about that? You see that in that little town of yours with
Yeah.
kids? What do you think about what's making that happen with kids? Parents allowed to have parties in the house with alcohol and other substances. What do you think about that?
I don't know. And I've had this discussion with people I'm close to. And different people feel different ways about it. Some people think they'd rather them try alcohol at home, where they're safe and they're not driving first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel that way. I mean, I know a lot of the research. That's Whitley wishes I didn't research so much, but we know a lot about just the effects of those things on your brain, and the fact that brain is still developing until age 25. And so kids who start doing these things age 13,
No, but I'm specifically, our parents they did in my town, and they certainly do it where we live, have parties where they provide the alcohol or allow it in the house and whatever. Do you see that, Whitley, with your friends? Or
I mean,
and what do we think about
parents either don't notice or don't care about the drinking, I guess. Usually they're more lenient on drinking than drugs. Drinking and vaping, I'd say, are the two things that they're more lenient about. I can't remember any of my friends saying their parents were just like, you can do drugs at home, but some are like, you can drink at home. And I mean, it's good for your kid to not be passed out in a ditch somewhere, but just because they're drinking at home doesn't mean that they're necessarily safe.
Right. Yeah. What do you think about that, Courtney?
I agree. I mean, I know it's not good for you at that age, and it's not something that we would choose to do, to provide those things.
And there's also a liability. These parents, for instance, I know you can take the keys and not let the kids drive home, but have you had any incidents in your town that have been problematic in that area? And
I mean, I think we're both kind of sheltered in a sense, and we probably don't know about a lot of the things that go on. But I really don't know of that going on that much. No.
So here's the last thing before we get into.
I have to just add one thing here.
Sure, Mike. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I was backstage doing some housekeeping,
go ahead.
but I couldn't overhear the party thing. I mean, my son wanted to do a party at our house. He's like, "You guys leave, and we're gonna have a party, and just don't come." And I said, I wouldn't allow it.
Right.
And I was in high school once,
Right.
and I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a liability thing too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, when my kids were doing it, I found out, it's funny, not till they were much older did I see the alcohol.
Yeah.
They kind of got into the cabinet, and I saw they were half empty. And you never know. I mean, it's tough. And I would always, they'd be partying in the backyard. I would just kind of show up.
Yeah.
But as smart as we thought we were,
Right.
my wife and I, we couldn't believe it. The years after they were out of the house, we saw watered down stuff. They'd been in our alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. As good as you think you are,
Right.
it still happens, right,
Yes.
Mike? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think it's one thing to let your own children do something under supervision, but it's another thing to say, hey, all of your friends can come over, and then it's okay for them to do it, because I don't have the permission from their parents to let them do whatever. So I think that's
I've seen some
challenge.
I've seen some parents they live vicariously through their children. I've seen it happen where I live, where they weren't popular. We had a show on popularity last week, as you know. So they weren't popular. So they were living vicariously through their children. So they loved having people come over and became one of the kids.
Yeah.
Right.
So that has also to do with their unresolved issues from when they were growing up. Last thing, which is going to lead into the next part of our show, is, and this has come out on our show a lot, and I'm sure you've heard this. The kids, do you feel the kids are getting, do they have advocates in the school system? You're a school psychologist. Kids who have been struggling with things such as anti-Semitism or
Right.
what goes on there? With our show, it doesn't look like the schools are doing enough.
Right. I know. And that's, I really enjoyed watching that show. I don't know if Whitley got to watch that episode or those episodes or not, but
Which show was that?
Anti-Semitism.
The anti-Semitism. Yeah.
I mean, where we go to school, there's not a mixture of people. It's extremely highly Christian area, and that's it. But I grew up in Atlanta, and I went to school with lots of Jewish people. And I mean, it was interesting for me to watch that episode, because I was trying to think back if I remember hearing things like that. And I'm sure those things were going on, but I wasn't aware of it. but it's not even, I mean, it's just where we live is very, it's just very different. There's not a lot of diversity. And that is one thing that we've tried to make sure to expose Whitley to lots of different things, and going down to Atlanta to do things, or going to big cities to do things, so that she knows what the real world is like. But you know, as far as the advocates for the kids in the schools, it all comes down to money. And if you're a small community without a lot of money, you know, we didn't used to have school counselors at our school, which is amazing to me. But this is the only city I've worked in that didn't have them. But we have them now, and I think, I mean, in our area, I think the people associated with special education did a lot for kids, you know, who were needing help, whether it was, you know, counseling type help or whatever. But we also have a very, very supportive communities for schools group that works through all the churches in our area, and lots of the different getting donations and things like that to take care of kids, things that they need. But it's a very supportive community. It's a very interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm glad to hear that. But Whitley, in the high school or middle school, or whatever, you saw kids struggling or being bullied or stuff, right? And did you feel like we've heard on other shows that the school could have done more in terms of sex education, bullying?
We had no sex education. Like, I have not been told, I don't think, a single thing in schools. We had, in 6th grade, we had our nurses come in, they separated the boys and the girls, and they started off by saying, this is not the sex talk, this is the talk about your period. And so that was the only time the word sex was ever said in school by an adult, really. But, so I think we need sex education. Some of the things that I've heard people say, we need sex education.
So, but how about if a kid's in trouble? Is there a place to go besides the sex education? We certainly know education, the financial show. They're not learning about business. They're not learning about drugs. They're not learning about sex. But what about a kid who's in trouble at school? They're either being bullied or something bad. Is there a place someone to advocate for them? You know,
definitely, yeah.
There
are, and I think before we had.
Oh, you're saying that. I don't know if Whitley said this. You're saying yes, right, Courtney?
I mean. Now there is more. I remember in elementary and middle school, we didn't have school counselor. Not that I was aware of as a kid. But I didn't know about it. Like, they didn't, they don't really promote, say, hey, you go here. But I remember I told a teacher once, hey, this girl's being really mean to me. Like, whatever. I don't even remember what it was about. But I remember because there were posters in the room saying no bullying. And teachers were always like, you need to tell an adult if someone's bullying you. And I was like, I think she's bullying me. She's being really mean. She was like, I mean, I didn't see or hear anything. I can't do anything about it. Sorry. And I was just
how about now?
I mean, if the teacher doesn't really see or hear anything, they can't really do anything. And it can be pretty bad. I mean, I don't know what the solution to it is, but I mean, going and talking, what a lot of adults don't understand is going and talking to a school counselor saying, hey, this kid's picking on me, they're being really mean. The most really the school counselor can do is say, hey, to the mean kid, hey, come to my office, we're going to talk. The kid's going to lie, say whatever. The counselor doesn't have proof, then the mean kid's going to be worse to the kid that was already getting bullied. Like, so while there is an outlet, I guess, it doesn't solve that solution in particular.
So what can we do? Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, and I was going to say, from the school standpoint, bullying is one of those, it really is one of those really hard things to discipline after the fact. I think that because if you don't see it, and kids are so manipulative and secretive about how they're doing things, and the teachers don't hear these things going on. But what I do think is important, though, is education to prevent that. I think that's where we have to start. You know, the older generations think, oh, the school should not have to teach morality and teach character and things like that. But we really do. And that's, the big push for SEL, the social emotional learning.
Cool.
That's nationwide. That's a big push right now.
I'm glad to hear that.
My teacher did that class.
Yes.
What'd you say, Whitley? What Whitley said?
Social emotional learning. We haven't talked quite about how they're going to use it, but I was like, I know that term. It's from my class.
Yeah. And
You know what?
and
What do you know from your class?
Just the term social emotional learning. It took me a second.
Yeah, I
to
haven't
place
heard that before. Huh.
Mhm.
But I'm in a teacher cadet class, which is basically like learning how to be a teacher,
Mhm.
I guess.
Yeah, it's like
And
psychology, just how to talk to people, how to communicate.
Yeah.
Last thing before we get to our Kids Are Talking reunion, she's got a boyfriend now.
Oh yes.
So how does mom feel about Whitley now, a grown girl? You know,
It
your
took
baby now has a
while.
boyfriend.
Yes, it took me a while to kind of embrace the situation, but he's a really neat kid. They're really neat together. They're, respectful and, I mean, I gotta,
You trust her. You trust her,
Yeah.
and you can talk to your mom about sex and all that kind of stuff, right?
right.
You have that. And mom is a good place to. I mean, that's a good thing. Parents.
Yeah.
My father. I don't think a lot of parents talk to their kids about sex, and now she's got a boyfriend. I'm sure you know.
Mhm.
You don't have to get into the details of that. I think it's sort of self-explanatory
Right.
that it's important to be educated and to feel
Yeah.
free to be able to talk. So you guys do that with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. All right. So now, I think the fun part is the journey of a panelist now goes to watching our shows.
Mhm.
And what has that been like for you, Courtney, watching Whitley? And have you seen a change in her and a change in your relationship since Kids Are Talking came into your life?
Yeah. The one thing that really stood out to me today when we were getting ready for this show, she was running around and getting the things ready and set up and the computer and all of this. And I was thinking back to the first show when I was the one that was running around and setting the thing up to set her computer up and make sure everything was right. And she's totally doing that stuff on her own now. And that's really neat. But I did, like I said, I went back and watched the first episode just to kind of look at that change.
Right.
And I think to begin with, she was very quiet. The very first show was one on eating disorders.
Yes.
She was a little thrown off because you were asking questions about, well, how do you handle this, with having an eating disorder? And I could just see it on her face, like, I don't have an eating disorder. Am I supposed to be on this show?
Yeah.
Kind of confused.
Yeah.
But I think that over time, as she's gotten to be on other ones, and like she was on the hookup culture.
That was quite a show.
Well, I think it's also hard for I mean,
What, Mike?
I said I think it's important for kids to understand that, when we do a show about eating disorders, we want kids on both sides of the opinion. We want kids with them and then kids that are not dealing with them, so that we can open that line of dialogue. And that goes with kind of any topic. So that's why we bring Whitley in on a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Even if she's not necessarily succumbing to these types of things, she can offer some insight to help people deal with the people that are.
So what were you saying? What were you saying about the hookup culture show, Courtney? You were starting to say something about it.
I think that's when she started to kind of feel comfortable realizing, that just exactly what Mike was saying, that you can come on and talk about any topic, about what you hear, what you know, what you've experienced if you have. But I think that was kind of a neat turning point to kind of see her kind of settling in, kind of feeling like, okay, I can talk about, whether I'm actually partaking in this or not partaking in this.
Who wouldn't want to talk about hookup? And then there was sex, love, and relationship. But then the AD. So this is a little different in what Mike was saying, because it's true, Whitley. We always saw you as a good balance for the show, but then she really came out in the ADHD show because she has it.
Yeah.
And the story for some of you, and I'm curious to know, we talk about this. It's actually become a famous moment on our show. Is that Mike and I disappeared for 10
it was like
minutes.
A thunderstorm or something.
Like a thunderstorm.
We lost power. Yeah.
I'm dying, by the way, just so you know. My vanity got in the way, and I'm thinking, oh my God, only because I knew this was a show that over 1,000 people were watching.
Right.
Thinking, oh my God, and these kids were really looking forward to being on the show. And like now, what? They're probably gone. We turned off the audience. We're finished. I went into my catastrophic ADD moment, and then all of a sudden we get back on the show, and there's Whitley running the show. She's the host of the show. It was really quite one of the most amazing experiences. It was such an ADD show. What do you guys think about that? I never had a chance to even ask Whitley about that.
Honestly, I've done a lot of research about ADHD, and I've wondered a lot of things like, oh, is this just a me thing, or is this an ADHD thing, or is this prevalent in a lot of ADHD people. And so I was just excited to be able to talk to other kids with ADHD and be like, do you experience this too? So like I was having fun with that.
Yeah, but Whitley, but how about you taking over? How did you have the ability to do that?
She's always had
Group
She's a leader.
project.
She's always,
Group
thank God
project,
for
I'm
Whitley.
always very
Whitley, you
bad.
saved my ass, Whitley.
Yeah. Well, group
So how did you
projects,
know? How did you do that?
I mean, like just thinking back to like group projects whenever I was little, I was a little more bossy and making everyone do the things that I thought they should do than actually just like, oh, hey, let's do this. So I've always just group projects. I always just naturally just kind of like, okay, let's do this. Like my parents have always, especially my dad, like emphasized like leadership and like taking charge and saying what you want to say. And so that's kind of just a natural thing for me. So it just kicked in. No one else is talking. I was like, okay, we got to do something.
Thank God. What do you think, Courtney? Go ahead.
I was going to say, we kind of joke, a long-standing joke for Whitley is if anybody ever gives her a microphone, they're not going to get it back. And she was that way from when she was little in preschool, and they had a Christmas show, and she just kept inching over trying to get the microphone from the teacher.
Oh, she was really, as a matter of fact, I didn't want to interrupt her. I was very careful when I came back because I had know where I left off before I disappeared. And then I had to really make sure that I didn't interrupt her. So it was a tough moment for me.
Yeah.
What was it like for you watching her do that and watching that show?
I mean, I was very proud of her, of course. But I'm used to her doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
you're
guess.
used to it.
She,
So what was? Yeah.
When she was about 10, her my father-in-law, so her granddad was the leader of the Shriners group, and he was doing a fundraiser, and he got her up on stage. She was going to help with the fundraiser, and he said, "Come on up here. Why don't you say a few words?" And she was 9 or 10 years old, and just jumped up and stood up there in front of all these Shriners, people that she didn't know at all, and just gave this whole discussion.
So I think the important message for me in that is that I've learned as a father and as a therapist that when you see a talent or a passion of your kid, really encourage it.
Right.
Not make them feel embarrassed by it, make them feel good about it. So you obviously did a good job with that. What do you think? Have you seen any change in your relationship since watching all these shows where kids are talking? Do you think that has been any change between the two of you or Whitley, or how about just the two of you?
I think that, I think as a family, we talk more, about things that maybe we wouldn't have talked about before. Kind of like that, that aha moment for me, realizing there are a lot of things that we could talk deeply about with her at this age, that, politics and how we feel about, all kinds of different topics.
So it's opened your mind to think about when you listen to these kids talking and her talking, that there's, wow, I can talk to her about a lot of things I didn't know I could talk to her about.
Right. And something too that I really enjoyed about that ADD show, I really liked getting to watch the kids just ask each other questions. I thought it was really neat just to see them interact in that way.
Yeah. Did you see the popularity show last week? I thought that was amazing. Yes. Did you see the way they interact? They brought the best out of me, by the way, just so you know that. Yes. Seeing them engage each other for me is a thrill. Yeah. So you like watching them interact.
I do. I really do. And I know, the format of the show at this point has to be, everybody has to be separate, but I imagine back whenever y'all were doing it, as a radio show, I don't even know if everybody called in or I'd expect the panelists were there together.
Yeah, people would call in, but you were saying something about separate. What do you mean? We don't want them to be separate. We want them interacting.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I know that right now, I guess I'd like to see how well they interact, even being in separate places and just doing it over the screen.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking is, if there were a possibility of them all actually being together in the same room and really acting.
Now I see what so when we used to do the show on radio, everybody was there.
Yes.
But we couldn't, but the problem is then we couldn't have you on from North Carolina.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And so people would call in, but it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
It's not. It would be nice for everybody. So the closest thing we come to it, which is the technology. You see, CNN does it, and it's the new way now. Is at least everybody's there. And I start to feel. Do you feel when you're watching it, it almost looks like they're all there together?
It does. It feels like that.
Yeah.
And
I sort of feel that way. I feel like you're with me. I feel like you're in Connecticut. I feel like you're both in Connecticut tonight.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But you're right. In the old days, we couldn't do that, and
Mm-hmm.
so we wouldn't have been able to have you on. I mean, you could call
Right.
in,
Yeah.
but yeah. So this is, but so you do feel it's not like you're not literally here in the studio, but
Right. But I think that just the interaction in general is just
the interaction.
But hey, if you were in the
interaction between
studio,
kids.
you would have gone offline with us when we lost power that
Right.
night.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah, that's right. That is true. I mean, that's our
Thankfully,
big
we
fear.
have this virtual studio, which lets the panelists continue even if we're not here.
That's a
Right.
good
Right.
point.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's nice because kids have dropped off for a little bit and then they come back on, I mean, just
Yeah.
because of technology, internet issues or whatever, but it is neat how it works now.
Well, we had Whitley, so who knows what would have happened? Maybe someone else would have taken over. Maybe it was beautiful because it sort of illustrated ADD all night long.
Oh,
Was there any particular show, Whitley? What about you? Do you think it's improved your relationship at home in terms of with your mom, and in what way?
I mean, I feel like this has helped me be able to actually verbalize my feelings about things, to figure out how to say my piece, I guess, and realize some things about myself. I don't think until I was on the eating disorder and body image, those 2 episodes, that I realized how much I struggled with my body image.
Mhm.
I realized a little bit, but I kind of was just like, that doesn't seem good. So I kind of just pushed it back and pretended it wasn't happening. But realizing that helped me start working on that and have more of a healthy mindset.
Mhm.
And after that show, I talked to my parents about it. I was like,
Right.
hey, I think
Right.
this is an issue.
Yeah.
So it
And which was your favorite show?
Yeah, I was going to get to that. What was your favorite show? Did you guys have a favorite show?
Mine was the ADD one. The
Mine was
ADHD
too.
one.
And why was that your favorite? Both of you, your favorite show? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's especially ADHD in girls is a topic I'm very passionate about, very interested in anyway. But I just thought the whole way that it all just
Yeah, I
unfolded,
agree.
and the way
So
the kids got to interact.
So what is it about girls and ADHD? What is it that makes you interested in that particular subject, girls with ADHD?
I mean, just as a girl with ADHD and not, I mean, I kind of diagnosed myself in college. But it's just such a misunderstood condition. It's so different in girls than it is with boys. And so it doesn't get recognized.
In what respect, honey? In what respect?
Because girls typically aren't the bouncing off the wall kind of, presentation that the boys have.
That's true. That came out. You're a good point. That came out on the show, actually, Willie. We talked about that. We don't think of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
what do you think?
It get overlooked a lot of times.
A good point. And that was discussed, that we don't think of girls that way. Right.
Right.
And as a guy, they didn't diagnose it for me. They didn't know what it was then. I know I had it. It was something to be ashamed of. You thought there was something wrong with you, or you were labeled lazy, or, so we've come a long way with that. What do you think is the biggest change that you've seen from the shows we're doing now, from the shows we did at the beginning? How do you feel you see growth or change, and any suggestions about where we're going, and who should watch it?
Yeah. I mean, I do wish we could get it out there so that more kids were able to see it. And I need to do a better job of publicizing it myself down here.
Courtney, you do a great job. You're one of our biggest
Courtney.
supporters. I just have to thank you. You're always sharing our podcast, and you're always trying to comment and engage with the panel and the kids. Even when Whitley's not on the show, I see you engaging with us. So we appreciate that.
And we are being discovered, and a show like this tonight.
Right.
How does it feel doing this tonight, the two of you?
It's a little nervous. I'm not the one that likes to be in front of the camera. So
Mom told me whenever the intro was rolling, she was like, "Oh yeah, I told your dad and the grandparents that you're on tonight. I didn't tell them that I was on though." So
I think
I'm sure they know by now.
Yeah.
How's she doing? She's doing pretty good, huh, Whitley?
She's doing amazing. I'm really proud of her.
Yeah, this is a new experience for you to do this tonight.
Definitely.
And nice for you. You'll always have this.
Right.
And now everybody else will always have this, and maybe make other people feel they can get on with their kids and show the importance of communicating and really learning and what we're about. And who do you think is? I can ask you, who do you think this show? Who should be watching this show?
I mean, I think all kids should. I mean, I think there's some really important topics. depending on where you grow up, you can get a lot of support by seeing other kids from different places that might be going through what you're going through that you can't necessarily talk about with people that you go to school with or whatever.
Knowing you're not alone. Yeah.
What's that, Whitley?
Knowing you're not alone. I was actually, I'm writing about being on Kids Are Talking for one of my college essays, and I was writing about it. And one of the things was just that how I wish that I had had this as a resource whenever I was struggling more, mostly in middle school, the middle school years, just to be able to like watch and see, because I wasn't born in the 90s, so I didn't know about it then, but I'm going to go back and rewatch some of those because I know they're up on the thing. But just I feel like it's good to know that you're not alone. And like I know whenever I was younger, I would look up all these like YouTube videos, like what is middle school like, or like how to deal with this. Like none of them were right. They were all, none of them really helped. But it's real kids talking about real things.
And it's archived. So basically this is timeless now, right, Mike? That's what beauty is.
Yeah, Whitley, I have a question for you. I'm curious because I've gotten feedback from people, and we're basically doing the opposite of what's trending right now. We have no filters aside from our fancy little green screen back here. We don't have filters. We're not showing anything fake. We're not doing 15-second snippets. It's an hour show. It requires a little bit of attention, and we all have ADD, and I think we can all still deal with it. But it's totally opposite from what everyone else is doing, which is trending right now. So I'm just curious how what do you feel about that?
I mean, I just like that it's more real. Originally, whenever I saw that all of the episodes were going to be live, that, I'm going to be honest, like terrified me. I was like, what if I say something wrong?
Hey, I felt the same way, by the way.
The first one, Don said, well, you got to restart. I said, we can't restart.
Yeah, you told me I can't restart it. So go ahead. I interrupt you. Go ahead, Willie. What else you want to say?
There are a lot of things now with social media and just the world in general. You don't really know what's real or not. And I mean, who knows? All of this could be scripted, but the way that I ramble, I think, shows that it isn't scripted. It's real and it's genuine. It's just kids talking about things that are going on in the world. Like it's not made to be viral. It's not made to be popular. It's made to help people.
And isn't it amazing? And what do you think that nobody else has done this, or very few people have done this show, this kind of show? It's so weird, right? I mean, I don't understand it, right? Yeah. And one more thing, like we talked about kids. Go ahead, Courtney. You want to say something?
I was just going to say that Peggy put a comment in, and she said, do you think parents, educators, and therapists would benefit from watching the show?
That was the next thing I wanted to ask you. Yeah, not just kids. How about educators, psychotherapists, parents?
Definitely. Because I think, I mean, as a mom, but then also as a school psychologist, it's really opened my mind to how, or opened my eyes to how involved and knowledgeable these kids are about all kinds of things that, we weren't knowledgeable about, or we certainly didn't talk about it with other people. I think that it would be really good for parents to see what their kids might be going through.
Something exciting happened today, by the way, that you can hear and everybody can hear, is the psychotherapist that I'm good friends with watched the popularity show, and she's presenting it to her whole staff. She feels it's something everybody, all the therapists in this community should watch that show. Awesome. Which is one of my dreams and Mike's dreams, I know, to do that. Yeah. So an hour goes by very quickly. One could say, God, how could we fill an hour?
Oh, wow, we're over. This is
we're going over, and
we're
going on. I only have one more question to ask before we go. She's going to college. How does mom feel about her daughter, her little precious little girl, going to college?
Oh, gracious.
And she might go to California, and she might even want to go to California.
Or maybe she'll come here to Connecticut.
Maybe one, Mike?
Maybe she'll come here to Connecticut. And
maybe she'll come here to Connecticut. We'd love to have her in Connecticut. How does mom feel about it? Do you have separation anxiety? I always get
excited. Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, I've had many a tear already. I'm excited.
I told you cried.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for her. I'm not excited for me, but I'm excited for her.
Yeah.
How about you, Whitley? How about leaving mom and dad?
I'm going to miss my family a lot and my friends. And I mean, I've grown up in a small town. Leaving's going to be weird, but I'm excited. Like the application process, I'm not excited about. That's what I'm finishing up with right now.
God. Yeah.
But going to college, I'm like psyched. I always have been, because it's just, again, going back to me even being little, just the independence. I want it.
She wants the independence, Courtney. You get
He
that.
does.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
want the independence.
I've heard.
What's it going to be like not having her there, having her home next year, not being in
I don't
school?
know. I
And
don't
won't be at
know.
work. You'll be going to work without her.
I know. Well, and I've already started that since she drives now, so that's kind of easing me into it. But
And she's got a boyfriend now, so she's growing up, Gordon.
I
Right
know.
there.
I know.
So listen, I want to thank you both. What we do typically, this is a Dr. Don tradition. Just quickly as we say goodbye, each of you have a chance to say maybe one thing to our audience about a mother-daughter relationship and a parent-child relationship. What would be the most important thing? I'll start with you, Whitley, to tell people watching the show tonight to value as an important piece. You go first.
I would just say, just be open, have open communication. Don't have like a closed mind. Don't already have your mind made up if something's going on. Just value your time together. Like, just be there for each other, even if you're upset with each other if something happens. You're always there. It's what family is.
Thanks. And Courtney?
And I was going to say value your time together, because that's exactly what I'm thinking about now as she's leaving soon.
Value your time together. Yeah, we don't want to have regrets.
Right.
We're all going to grow up. We're all mortal, and we don't want to have any regrets. It's like that Cats in the Cradle song, right? Where
Yes.
all of a sudden the kid has time to be with his parent, and the parent doesn't. No, the parent wants to be with the kid, and the kid doesn't have time for the parent. Right.
Yeah.
And so Cats in the Cradle, I always think of about that. It's like pressure.
The circle of life.
Circle of life. Don't take your time for granted. Love, don't judge, respect, communicate. Thank you so much, both of you, for being such a part of where we are in Kids Are Talking, part of our history, part of our present, and
hopefully part of our future.
And definitely, hopefully, part of our future. And you're both a true gift for all of us at Kids Are Talking. So thank you. And from all of us at Kids Are Talking, Mike, you have a last word you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, thanks for joining us. And since Whitley said her favorite episode was ADD, there'll be a link later on down in the corner there to the ADD show, so you can watch that. And then we'll have some of the other shows she was on posted, so everybody can see all the stuff she's been talking about. And I hope to have also more kids come on and talk about their experience. I think it's a new dynamic to hear one person talking than it is to have a discussion. And I hope to also I think maybe ADD is a subject that we need to explore more. I think we can do more episodes.
We
can dive deep into it. It was a popular topic.
Very popular.
We could have just a whole show just on ADD and do one every single week.
It's been a really popular one because it's a universal ADD, ADHD. It's called now, is become a major focus in America. And it's for somebody like me who I think had it and was never diagnosed, and the challenges I've had around, and you too, Mike, have had it. It's important. And I just, again, want to thank you all for being part of this show tonight. From all of us, our Kids Are Talking. We'll see you down the road next week, every Thursday night. We try to be every Thursday night. Every now and then we might not be Thursday night, but for the most part, we're here to learn and grow and stay on the journey. And tonight it was the journey of our panelists, and that was a great topic and a great title for the show. The
journey of Whitley.
The journey of Whitley and her mom.
So join us on our continuing journey with Kids Are Talking. And
have a really great night.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.